Welcome everyone to the 100th episode of Military Trailblazer Office Hours. Super excited to announce that. Just a quick recap of the past 2 years. We have invited over 180 co-hosts to chat with you about the Salesforce ecosystem. We've produced over 180 informative videos, which you can find on YouTube. And we have welcomed over 4,100 attendees across all of our sessions. So before we begin our 100th session, I just want to say thank you to everyone here attending live, as well as those of you in YouTube land. Your enthusiasm and passion for continuous learning makes all this possible. So thanks again for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to spend it here in the spirit of community mentorship and learning. I'm your host, Dave Nava. I'm a lead solution engineer at Salesforce and a military trailblazer. Each week, we invite a co-host, or sometimes 7 of them, to take part in the conversation so we can leverage their experience, expertise, and unique perspectives. Tonight's session is another in a continuing series of partner spotlights. We are super excited to welcome Skuid to Office Hours to dive into what it's like to work at this independent software vendor and explore the game-changing tools that it brings to the world of declarative UI development. So let's get started. I'd like to welcome and briefly introduce our co-host panel for tonight's session: Rob Hatch, Ashleigh Holt, Sarah Hughes, Evan Roth, Chris Stern, and Anna Wiersma. Rob has various product, solution, and sales-related roles at Skuid. He has a diverse background in product management, development management, internal solutions, and sales tools, combined with a passion for delivering exceptional user experiences with zero code. Ashleigh is the Director of Alliances in Public Sector at Skuid. Her sales and customer success experience within the public sector provide her with a unique perspective and expertise in helping government organizations leverage Salesforce to drive digital transformation. Sarah is Director of Support and Success at Skuid. She has deep experience in driving customer advocacy and designing and implementing digital solutions with a focus on app agility, user-centered design, and harnessing the transformative power of technology. Evan is an enterprise account executive at Skuid. As a former Air Force Special Operations pilot, he brings a human-centric design approach to public sector and has deep experience in sales operations, customer success, and account ownership. Chris is a principal pre-sales engineer at Skuid. With over 6 years at Skuid in sales and solution-focused roles, he's developed a unique blend of technical expertise and emotional intelligence that he brings to design, problem-solving, and customer success. And Anna is a community enablement technical lead at Skuid. She also has a diverse background spanning administration, customer success, operations, and software engineering, and currently designs training experiences for the Skuid professional community, which we're going to get into later. It is awesome to have you all here co-hosting Office Hours with me. Welcome.
We're super
Thanks
glad
for
to be
having
here.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evan should wear Evan, you should be wearing your
I know, right?
your fighter helmet here.
It's hard to hear in.
I've got one behind me. It is hard to hear. At this point, we typically invite our co-hosts to share their professional journeys. However, because we have so many awesome co-hosts, we're going to just touch on them throughout tonight's session to ensure that we make time for everyone's questions, including my own. So for those joining for the first time, let's cover some admin items. I always like to briefly explain the purpose of these office hours before we open the floor for questions and discussion. These sessions are, at their core, an informal get-together for gathering with both military trailblazers and allies. Everyone is welcome to explore non-technical Salesforce career and branding-related topics to help you achieve your professional development and career-related goals. We might delve a bit into the tech side tonight, so please forgive us, but it's going to be interesting. The next hour is intended to be an opportunity for collaborative mentorship, so everyone on the call is encouraged to step up and help both ask and answer questions from your perspective, along with our co-host panel, which of course will provide additional diversity of experience to the answers given. Do keep an eye on the chat window during tonight's session. I and others on this call share a lot of great information there, including learning, networking, and employment opportunities. And if you want to drop your LinkedIn profile in there, that would be an awesome way to connect with others in tonight's session. Please do so. If you'd like to ask a question at any point during tonight's session, please, this is your session, feel free to do so. If you don't feel comfortable speaking up, no worries. Just post that in chat, and I will do my best to monitor hands raised in the app, as well as looking for those chat comments. We will be sharing a survey link in the chat in a few minutes, like we usually do. However, since this is our 100th episode, we would love it if you'd share feedback on your overall experience, not just tonight's episode. We are always looking to improve, so thank you in advance for helping us do that. Finally, tonight's session is being recorded. If you'd like to share an attribution-free comment, just let me know before speaking, and I'll make sure that it is edited out of the final recording. All right, so on to the good stuff. as a solution engineer, I have worked with Skuid on several occasions, and I love how easy Skuid is to use and the flexibility it gives me to enhance the user experience. Some of our attendees and viewers may not be aware of what Skuid is. So could you provide an overview of Skuid's mission and how it aligns with the needs of customers in the software development industry, please?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Evan. As mentioned, I'm one of the veterans here on the team. And how I found Skuid was actually out of need for my last position when I was working for GE, where I really wanted to find a way to edit the page around and make it our own there, compared to the difference in how things were presented by default. So what Skuid is we install as a managed package off the App Exchange, and we really give you another toolkit to essentially kind of break the rules of what Salesforce's schema has for its UX, and what you put whatever you want, wherever you want, and whatever shape, size, color, to really match your either design theme, all the way to do you want unrelated objects on a page, to do you really want this custom application that your company or division needs. And so we function as a technology as a partner versus, say, an implementation partner. However, as you heard, both Salesforce and our systems implementations partners, like your consulting groups, will use this as a technology to deploy. Most famously, if anyone or you and any of you are in the Air Force, for example, you are seeing our technologies. So we partner together with Salesforce to provide a seamless interface across applications on MyFSS, including your fitness application. So that's where you maybe still have seen us before, but didn't even really know you were on Salesforce or Skuid.
Great overview, Evan. Thanks very much. Does anyone else want to add some color to that?
I think we'll provide some good color through the rest of the questions that you've given us, and also willing to keep talking.
Sounds good. All right. So part of tonight is to talk about what Skuid brings to the declarative development game from user experience perspective, but also part of it is to kind of dive into Skuid as a company and explore what it's like to work in an ISV. We've profiled a couple different companies over the course of office hours, but not very many ISVs. So in that regard, could you share a little bit about Skuid's history as a company, kind of how it began, and how your product portfolio has evolved over time? You know, I know you have, there's the core product that you just mentioned. Are there other things that you do as well at Skuid?
Yeah, so I'll take this one. Rob Hatch here. I think of those at Skuid who are representing Skuid, I'm the one that has been at Skuid the longest. Skuid actually was a pivot. Skuid started as an ISV, really building technology for the education space using the Force.com platform. So we built student information systems, but the first time we put them in, we had a package all up and on the App Exchange, and schools downloaded it, installed it, and came to us very quickly and said, "Oh, you've got this, maybe step 1, 2, 3, but in our environment, we need it to be organized 1, 3, 2. Can you change it for us?" And a managed package back in the Visual Force days, very difficult to do that kind of end customer customization. And so that was really what gave us the impetus to say, oh, we need to provide a way so that the customer, the end user, or the end administrator can take this application and make it their own and really make it what they want. And then all of a sudden we realized, oh, this isn't just about a student information system. This is a toolkit that's really available for standard objects, custom objects, sitting on top of other packages. It just kind of went on and on and on. And we therefore pivoted away from kind of a vertical orientation as a business to a horizontal orientation as a business, and our business has grown significantly from that. So that that happened 10 years ago, and we've been in the horizontal sort of UI UX customization space ever since. Yeah, and our product has grown through the years. First, it started as a very simple way of managing standard layouts, and we really only had kind of one UI vision. And so very quickly people said, well, help me theme this, help me build a theming engine. So that was another, like almost a whole other product, but another very big layer of our product that we rolled out. Very quickly people said, oh, you're great in Salesforce. I also have ServiceNow, or I also want to be in the Microsoft ecosystem, or I also want to connect I want to use your tool as a front end for a Postgres database I've got somewhere else. And so very quickly, our reach has spread outside just the Salesforce ecosystem. And so we're now launching very similar products in terms of what they do and how they work, but on other platforms. And then obviously UX, it's a huge space. And so there's kind of an endless opportunity of, oh, we want these new charts or these new widgets or these new ways of configuring and managing a particular set of interactions. And so there's always interesting growth there. So that's a little bit of the way the product has grown and the kind of things we see in the future. And our company's grown as well. I think I was employee number 9 back in the day. Anna, I think, was right there with me back in the day. She's been in and out of the company a couple of times, but she was employee number 8 or 9 or 10, something like that. And we've been as high as 200 employees. Now we've dropped a little bit this year, but we've grown significantly, and it's been a great trajectory to see international reach, to see geographic reach, to see a broad variety of people of different backgrounds and experiences coming to contribute to Skuid, and then a similar range of customer base all over the place, from the Air Force that, like Evan talked about, to the smallest nonprofits that are really just using the nonprofit starter pack and using Skuid to manage it. So it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, what I love about Skuid is, to your point, you could use it regardless of the use case. As a solution engineer, I'm absolutely obsessed with the user experience, the user interface, and functionality is important to me, but I'm much more, perhaps to my detriment sometimes, concerned with how it looks. Right, it's got to be really really pretty. And I've often thought, I love Salesforce, but I wish it could do this, or I wish my Experience Cloud site could do that. And around that time, that's when I found Skuid, and it was from a previous SE who had leveraged it to build a front end on an Experience Cloud site simply by, using the Skuid app and then driving that component into Experience Cloud. And I was able to go in, make a copy of what he did, clone it, change a few parameters, and very quickly change the look and feel for a completely different demo, which was awesome. So coming in knowing nothing about it, but being able to very quickly turn it around and leverage it just highlights the fact that it's this really versatile, easy to use product. And on that note, I wanted to ask a follow-up question. So obviously Skuid is not the only no-code, low-code UI focused tool in the ecosystem. How do you guys stand out and add additional value for declarative developers from some of the other competitors out there?
Yeah, I can take this one. So hey everybody, my name's Chris. Yeah, I love this question because there's lots of different technologies that we've seen come out, not just from Salesforce, but just on the App Exchange and different point solutions. Sometimes those have helped inform the ways in which we've tweaked our own product to capture cool functionality that we've seen. For example, our form component and our table component have gotten much more powerful by just looking at some of the great things that things like Form Assembly or Grid Buddy and other App Exchange products are doing. So that's been exciting. The other thing, though, that I love is the way in which, by virtue of being a native installed package in Salesforce, the way that we can play really well with advances in Salesforce technology. So a great example of this is Lightning flows, for example, and screen flows or behind the scenes flows, whatever it might be. Skuid can call those and invoke those, or if a record is changed, a record flow can trigger as well. And we just recently made it possible for a Skuid page to call a Lightning screen flow in the page. So one of our customers, the Air Force, had that exact requirement. They had a ton of really well thought out and a lot of intricately designed screen flows. And we were like, well, yeah, definitely don't try and remake those. Why reinvent the wheel? Instead, here's the Skuid UI for where you need the Skuid UI, and let's just call those screen flows where you need it. So it's neat to be able to see some of those complementary types of technologies. And then other times it's, yes, Rob, go Air Force. We love working with them. And yeah, it's fun having Evan too with he was a C-130 pilot, which is super cool. But I digress. The other thing that I wanted to say is oftentimes we'll see different technologies like OmniStudio, which we've seen a lot of prospects and customers kind of evaluating and thinking through, and what should we do, and when should we use this, and when shouldn't we use it. And one of the things that, and I'll wrap this up, sorry, this is a really long answer, but one of the things that I've seen in when we've done some of these proofs of concepts where Skuid has been pretty useful and helpful is that the barrier of entry to learning how to build really complex apps is lower with Skuid than it is with something like an OmniStudio. Salesforce Ben just recently posted a really helpful blog, actually, that kind of stack ranked the levels of complexity between flows and page builder and OmniStudio and custom code. And they had OmniStudio kind of right up next to custom code. And OmniStudio is crazy powerful. It's also really complex, and it's really hard to kind of move quickly. And so one of the ways in which we've seen Skuid be an advantage in some of those I need something custom scenarios is our ability to get to value really quickly, and the kind of the broader range of who can build the app to get to value quickly. So I'll stop there because I've been talking too long. I'm really passionate though about where and when to use the right mix of stuff to help the end user as much as possible. So.
Yeah, and if I could just tag onto that too, I think the other side of it, David, is we're born out of the acknowledgement that user experience matters, and your tool is only as good as the data that you're able to extract out of it. Salesforce is a beast, right? There's so much that you can do there that makes your job, easier, gets data in the hands of people that need it. Build your dashboards, get your reporting. The tool is insane. If you can't get people to use it, what was the investment worth? If you are a Salesforce admin, hey admins, developers, you've gone through all of the certification, you've built your internal product, no one's using it, and your business comes back to you, your leadership comes back to you. What's wrong? If you've been in this world long enough, I hesitate to say how long I've been in it because Zoom makes me look really, really wonderful and wrinkle-free. But you have seen the applications you have built die a slow death, and it's painful. So I think at our heart, we're always taking that step back. Like, what is it that we can do to make it easier to build complex applications that people want to use, to stay focused on your users as humans? Human-centered design is at the heart of our company, and design thinking, and allow you to be flexible enough to make those changes in a way that protects not only the investment that your company has made in Salesforce itself, but in you as the admins and developers. So I think that's kind of that core, where we shift, where we change. We're still always focused on what's that end user experience, and then a lot of what's the experience of building also. What are some of the roadblocks and kind of pain points in making that happen.
Yeah, it's well said. Skuid definitely fills a capability gap in the broad spectrum of no code to low code to pro code tools, and really puts a lot of power in the hands of your declarative developers, which I love. So we'll do a quick pivot here, and we've talked a bit about Skuid's mission and the options that it adds to folks that either want to develop on the Salesforce platform or they want to use it, and they may not. They may want a custom user interface, custom experience. But let's spend a few minutes exploring what it's like to work at Skuid. So, and feel free to jump in. How would you define Skuid's core values, the company culture overall? What's it like to work there?
Yeah, I can take this one. If you're familiar with Skuid, and Sarah talked a lot about it, she mentioned design thinker. She mentioned, human-centered design and in the heart of the humans. We've got 3 pillars though. So the design thinker is one, caring heroes, and I always mess this up. Humble experts and caring heroes are the other 2. And when I joined Skuid about 2 years ago and joined the squad, as we call it here, you have that go and you LinkedIn and you see who's in your network and who's there. And nobody I knew was connected to anyone who worked at Skuid. Skuid's headquartered in Chattanooga. And I thought, okay, I'm a Beltway girl. I was in sales for 10 years, selling to the federal government, the DoD, and the IC. I've got to know somebody. And yeah, I didn't. I was pivoting to customer success, and everyone I interviewed was, I don't want to say better than the last because they're all amazing people, but truly authentic, caring heroes. They were design thinkers. They were, I mean, you see the folks from Skuid here, and I thought, okay, the list might be too good to be true. Maybe this is just a quick stopping point. But as soon as I came on board, I mean, I was really surprised, and still to this day I tell so many people, no, like everyone who you meet is authentically who they are. And that was so refreshing coming from large corporations that I worked at where you felt like a number. Skuid has, I think, grown as a company, matured. You know, when I joined, it was a mature startup, and now I feel like we're in that phase and maybe are in our middle school years a little bit. But I've been part of companies where you'd have difficulty growing outside of your core group of people. So very grateful for everyone who comes on board. We are a team and a company that, hey, I've got an interest here, and you are empowered to go do it. You're filling the gaps. You're not just doing what you know, your core roles and responsibilities. And since then, since coming on board, I've been moved to the Director of Alliances and Public Sector Strategy. So I'm very thankful for Skuid, very thankful for the amazing people who work here. And, you know, now that I oversee our alliance team, that's what we're looking for in partners too. So we have a great opportunity to work with other human-centered design thinkers too, which has been fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. The Trailblazer community obviously is such a positive, reaffirming professional community. So it's great to know that Skuid is just a natural extension of that.
Absolutely.
We did have a question, and Chris, don't you love it? Like when you show up to a sales meeting and they're like, "Hey, you have that demo you can show," and you have no idea what they're talking about, and then your AE wants you to demo right away. So Carrie asks, and if you can't pull it off, no worries. Do you guys have anything you can show us utilizing Skuid from a demo perspective? And if not, then there is a demo button on the site too, so it covers that. If you do, that's great, and we can keep going with the questions if it's going to take you a few minutes to pull it up. But feel free to say no too.
Yeah, I'll help out here. So Chris always has something ready because, you know, he's got some crazies he works with. We do have demos on the site. Carrie, I saw you're with Booz. We work with you all quite a bit, you know, we were just talking to Alex Sutherland. But for everyone else, we can see at the end if we want to, you know, show anything. We do like to still talk about some of the questions about what it's actually working with an ISV is like. But I always know Chris is ready if we want to show something here.
You can see him in the background. He's powering something up.
I'll give Chris some time to get set up. So we'll do another question, and then we'll transition over to Chris, and he can show something. And so on that note, let's see. So, and this is going to differ. Obviously, everyone has a unique perspective of what it's like to work at your individual organization. I would really love to capture your thoughts on the unique opportunities and challenges of working at an ISV like Skuid compared to other types of technology companies, if you've had the opportunity to work at other types. Because I think a lot of folks are just wondering, like, you know, we have a pretty good understanding of what it's like to work for a consulting partner that does implementations. A few of us have an idea what it's like to work at Salesforce. I, for one, have no idea what it'd be like to work in an ISV the day to day, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I might kick us off here on that one as well. Working for an ISV is awesome in that but also is very challenged. So I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth, but you know, we have a lot of flexibility and can go in and fill a lot of gaps and solve a lot of solutions. Extend. I'm a big proponent of an extension of the Salesforce platform. Working with our partners, they're an extension of Skuid. You know, we understand Salesforce's go to market when we are when we are on the Salesforce platform. But with that too, there's some limitations, right? Salesforce is the primary platform. When they're going in, and I can give a perspective from the federal government side, you're selling massive contracts and are very, sometimes there's very strong technical requirements and other limitations. And so we have to abide by that, or sometimes fill very narrow gaps when we want to do so much more. So there's, the relationship piece of that, the partnership piece of that. But the nature of Skuid too, because we're the UI UX layer of Salesforce and can extend that platform, we also have an ISV network, which is maybe unique to other ISVs in the Salesforce ecosystem, is that we've got a lot of partners building with Skuid powered apps and working, and then have downstream partners as well. So we're seeing that in fintech heavily. We have some other OEM and white label agreements. And so that's great as well to see kind of Skuid in the wild in a sense, but also know that we're solving that good as well. So.
I love that, Skuid in the wild.
Yeah, I'll add one more kind of flavor to that. Like, what are the differences working at an ISV as opposed to, say, working for Salesforce directly or working for an SI? Usually in those roles, you're going to be tied to a very specific sector or assigned to a specific customer and have long-term engagements with single-threaded in a sector or a customer or an engagement. As an ISV, you're literally working with different customers every day. And Skuid is horizontal, and so we have, as I said before, the smallest nonprofits to the largest federal government institutions, and Fortune 50 all the way down to 2 and 3 people shops. So that level of flexibility, that level of variety is one of the unique aspects of working at an ISV that I particularly love. Other people might get really frustrated by the amount of channel switching that it causes, but I particularly really enjoy that variety of relationships that you build.
Yeah, that's the best part of my day, honestly, as an SE, is building relationships with customers and those day-to-day interactions. Chris, are you ready, sir? Okay.
Yep.
The floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah, let me pop this up. So I've actually got a couple of public sector and then one private sector here. So can you guys see a screen that looks a lot like the Navy? Is that coming through?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we've got you.
Yep.
Beautiful. So this is an experience site, and everything that you're seeing here, these are all Skuid components. And there's no CSS, HTML, or custom code for any of this. So this was all created using drag and drop, point and click. And the records that you're seeing on this page are coming from 3 different objects in Salesforce. And so one of the advantages that Skuid provides is the ability to design and deliver pixel perfect, branded, themed, all that kind of thing really quickly. We did this in this whole app that you're seeing here as a proof of concept. We did it in about 12 to 14 hours. And we're able to do that, again, so fast because we weren't writing code. I don't know code, so I'd be really stuck, but was able to put this together really quickly. And this is all interactive too, so these are different courses. It's an LMS for the Navy Learning Management System, including kind of like a course detail page that was based off of their specs from Figma. So we're able to just bring that to life. That one was really cool. They also asked that we make it mobile responsive, so that we did that in about 3 hours. We just swapped out that carousel for this list component that renders dynamically based on the viewport width. So again, there's your course information. And then the upper navigation, we just put in a hamburger menu. And when I switch back to desktop view, it renders then the different components that look better for desktop. So that was really sweet. The other one, just to show kind of a hybrid approach, this was for the Global Strike Force, which is just a really fun phrase to say for the Air Force. This was an example of this hybrid approach, like I said. So this calendar is the Skuid component, and then these other components are Lightning components. So we can be deployed in and amongst other Lightning components, or like that experience site, we can do as much or as little as you'd like. This calendar is really cool because it also incorporates a screen flow. So if I want to schedule a flight for a block of time, it passes in the time from that Skuid calendar, where I was selecting, into the screen flow, and then the flow is doing a bunch of logic behind the scenes to see what plane that I'm, scheduled licensed for. I can actually fly B2s. It's dummy data, but seemed cool. And then also kind of figuring out what base you're at and that kind of thing. And lastly, really quick, because I don't want to spend the whole time on this, this was something we did on Salesforce's new Net Zero Cloud. Their ask was to make a TurboTax experience for filling out carbon credits. And so we did this wizard. Everything, again, that you're seeing here, these are all Skuid components. And this is that sort of TurboTax feel where data center, electric vehicle, and office are all record types on an object, and combustion vehicles actually on a completely different object. The end user doesn't care. And as you're filling this out, then we just dynamically create a wizard to step someone through the process of filling out carbon accounting. So I'll stop there. I was probably drinking from a fire hose a little bit, but just wanted to highlight a little bit of, wow, you can do a lot of cool things, and it's certainly not a point solution. The coolness of that is, hey, you need something really custom. Cool, let's build that, and let's try and help solve your unique problems as quickly as we can. So yeah, I'll stop sharing. But
I love
it's
those
your UI UE Swiss Army knife.
and I love that you showed the one that was here's a really, really impressive, very branded, beautiful thing that you would never think was on Salesforce without a lot of extra work. And here's this thing that looks like we're still in Salesforce, right? The appetite is really different from application to application. It might be your leadership or the business needs. If you go out to our website, we have a customer modular walls that got really, really branded with their external customer facing org, and then uses Skuid both internally, and it's a lot more, we don't need to make it look prettier than what Salesforce is looking like. Also with that mind toward, you really want your users to feel comfortable. So if you are working on internal applications within your Salesforce ecosystem, you can have it match what's happening there without it being this overwhelming amount of work, to make that happen. So while we certainly love to do the pretty stuff, and I know you guys probably do too, because the look and feel of Salesforce it's better than Classic used to be, but you get bored after a while. So there's that. And then I saw a lot of comments about, you don't have to use CSS, but there are ways to extend. And there's definitely friendly, ways to jump beyond the low code. And that's why we say low code, not no code, is, you let Skuid get you 80% of the way there, and then, apply some intense customization as needed to really provide that, the interface and the application that you're looking for.
Yeah, I love how it interfaces with existing process automation tools like Flow. It's really, really cool. Thank you, Chris, for showing that. That Navy site. I've seen it before, but it's visually stunning. Really, really neat. So what we'll do here is we'll do one more question just on overall Skuid culture, and then we'll take a break for a group photo. And then we'll come back and we'll pivot to some different types of questions. So I want to get into a bit about the Skuid Squad. And so this question is kind of geared toward that. Obviously, we have this remote distributed work environment that's become the new norm for many companies. How do you foster that sense of community that you referenced earlier? And how do you create that sense of belonging among Skuid employees?
Yeah, I can take this one. I'm on a Wiersma, and I'm the farthest away of the Skuids. I'm based out of Morocco. So for me, the remote and the company culture, that's really important. Otherwise, it would be hard to do my job. But I think what I love about Skuid is that company culture and the way that even though we're all in different places, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like we're one team. And I think what makes that possible is Slack is a big part of it. People are really on Slack, collaborating on Slack, on work. We also just goof off on Slack, and we have channels just for fun things. And I think being able to have some of that fun mixed in just helps build those connections. And our HR department is also wonderful. They send gifts kind of randomly for holidays, for birthdays, and things like that. It's a small thing, but it really yeah, it makes you feel like part of the company.
Anna was also my squibbling. If you've not caught on, we love nautical puns. So the squad, others, of course. But so when you were on board, you were assigned to squibbling, and Anna was my squibbling. So bless her heart, she was very kind on staying on late in the day for her, early for me, and we'd meet over coffee, and I'd get caught up on who do I go to talk to about this, or I'm stuck here. Or, hey, did you know that so-and-so is potentially sister-in-laws to so-and-so? Like, it was great. So besides, fun fact.
Yeah, you got to bring a sense of humor to work. That's fun. And bad puns.
Of course.
What we'll do now is if you want to participate in the group photo, what we do is we take a quick shot and we share it on social media, so we can always be branding, and you can, of course, share that as well once it comes out. If you don't want to participate, no worries. You can keep your camera off and no feelings will be hurt. And I'll give you a second to get that set up, and we'll grab a quick picture. And then love the comments. If you will hold comments for 1 second while we're doing the photo, because they cover up my face. So you'll see like everyone, and then you'll see like really cool comment over my face. All right, I will give you a count of 3. Get my picture taking tool ready to go. All right, there it is. And 1, 2, 3. Success. All right, so let's move on. And I want to talk a little bit about innovation, and then we'll get into some kind of roles and career paths, and we'll move on from there. AI is, of course, all over the place, as we all know. We were having that conversation when we started tonight's session about some of the tools that you can actually add to meetings to take notes and provide image snapshots and things of that nature. So with that in mind, what emerging trends or pivots in the low-code industry do you think will help shape Skuid's future? Do you have any things you're working on right now, and how does your what's your innovation mindset look like?
Yeah, I'll take this. We didn't say this up front, but I'm director of product at Skuid. So thinking about where our product is going is something that I spend a ton of time doing. So yes, AI is a huge kind of been if you didn't say things about AI in the past 6 months, you were considered dead as a product, dead as an innovator, dead as as a tech company. So like everybody else, we've done a lot of thinking about what AI, what incorporating large language models could do in our ecosystem, in our product, for our customers. And so we've spent a lot of time talking to our customers. And I think that's the basis of our innovation strategy, is listening. So we are always talking to customers. So Sarah runs our customer success team. Those guys daily interacting with customers. What are you doing? What are you trying? What are the challenges that you're facing with the user experience that you're presented with? How could Skuid help you to do that better? And so integrating with existing language models so that we can build solutions for customers using large language models. That was kind of automatic for us, because Skuid has, maybe for the past 6 or 7 years, had ways of connecting to REST APIs fairly declaratively. And so, when OpenAI launched ChatGPT-3, what did they do? They published an API spec. We could consume that API spec, pass questions to the API, get the information back, and surface it within an interface built in your Salesforce environment. So we kind of felt like, oh, we've got a little bit of a leg up using existing functionality, but it also gave us the opportunity, okay, how can we make that easier, more straightforward? What would be good UI conventions for manifesting that? Those are the kind of questions that we're always asking. So that AI is the sort of the technology flavor of the day. There's going to be one tomorrow. We stay attuned to what's happening in the industry, and also then what Salesforce is launching. So industry clouds, the net zero release that Chris talked about. We're very we're a small company, but we're always trying to stay at least just one step behind what Salesforce is delivering, and making sure that Skuid will work well and help to continue to benefit the capabilities that Salesforce is rolling out. I'm rambling. That's kind of a scattershot idea of where we see innovation going.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a great point. When Salesforce rolls out, Service GPT and Sales GPT and Einstein GPT, Skuid's well positioned to make that interface even better than it currently is, and provide extra tools that are really custom tailored to the user for what they need to see. So that's interesting. Very cool. All right, what I wanted to do next. Yep.
Oh, just mentioning, Dave, we showed that calendar component. Our recent big update had a huge amount of calendar upgrades because you all needed it when it came to the certain opportunities we worked together on. And that's what we got integrated into the R&D path within about 6 months. Really cool to do as a small business.
Yeah, and you bring up a great point, because as a small business, you're nimble enough to be able to take feedback from customers and incorporate that into product development. So if someone's like, hey, we thought maybe it'd be cool if we could do this, you're like, oh, we've never even thought of that before. Let's make it easier for ourselves to do that with other customers. That's got to be one of the advantages of working in an ISV, where you can pivot really quickly and do those types of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I threw it in the chat, but one of that is, our example of VA. Obviously, 508 compliance is really top of mind for the VA and other federal agencies, but where we had to extend with custom code for a short bit, we built into our solution in a declarative way, which was a huge, one, a differentiator for us in the market, but two, just ensuring that we're meeting the needs of customers who are truly using the solution, maybe folks here as well. Which sets us apart, but also I think talks to the flexibility that you just mentioned with working at ISV.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to do a pivot here and dive into roles and career paths, and kind of maybe give an overview of some of the current positions that Skuid both has and maybe looking for in the future. So, if folks are interested in working for Skuid, what do you anticipate some of the opportunities might be in the future as Skuid, as we get through this, obviously this tough market, these tough market conditions, and Skuid continues to grow in the future?
Yeah, I'll take this one. I don't think we have any openings right now, but I imagine our next phase of growth, we seem to always be adding to our product engineering team, right? So our back end engineering folks, our front end engineering folks. So we are a product company. When we need bodies to build our product, and when we get into those growth modes, that tends to be the team that starts to grow. We are also very heavily invested in the success of customers. So our customer success department as a whole is a really large team at Skuid. You've got several of us on here today, and that team is like, I will say, people come to that team with a variety of backgrounds. Old school front end development, Salesforce admin development, professional service. We have a professional services team that is operating as a consultative and build team for our customers that don't want to bring staff on, and I think I would love to invite y'all to find us on LinkedIn, follow the company. We have a wonderful HR manager and recruiter that's really always posting a lot of great content there about what we're looking for and what we see other folks in our space looking for. Ashleigh mentioned our 3 pillars of design thinker, humble expert, and caring hero. The way that we kind of think about that in terms of skill set is also like curiosity. I think that it's a little intense to get hired at Skuid, and it might take a while. I remember it took a while for me, and I've been a hiring manager and I've felt that, but that means we really focus on hiring folks that we are dedicated to growing with. I think familiarity with the SaaS world, and of course you're never going to go wrong with familiarity with Salesforce ecosystem itself. We have quite a few people who are in different roles. Rob, I think, Evan, you've got some certifications. Chris certainly has certifications. Matt Brown, who I don't think was able to join. Anna, you know, we've got a lot of builders, Salesforce admins, Salesforce developers. I think understanding that ecosystem, especially for our SFX product, is really helpful. And then, you know, just flexibility. I think that's really the thing that other thread that I hear my fun coworkers talk about today, and where my experience. So I came up in the federal and state government space, that, you know, been here for a while and kind of pivoted into this world, and the flexibility, the need to be able to pivot and be flexible with what, like, the mission at hand is. I've seen us grow and change so many times at Skuid, and I think that's really what's happening in a lot of other organizations, is just that ability to get new skills, pivot, come with questions, always be curious. You know, we talk about discovery a lot, you know, when we're building applications, and I just think of that also just in my day-to-day with customers and coworkers. You know, like, what's the discovery that we can do to continue to show up as our best selves? And then I think if you're really ever looking to join Skuid or another ISV, you know, so we've had quite a few veterans. We have I have an active naval reservist on my team right now, and I think a lot of those skills that you learn and being able to translate what you've learned either in your military experience or your other work experience down into those kind of key habits of, you know, it feels a lot less of, I know how to do this one thing in this one place in this one system, and a lot more like, I can pick up this thing, I can be flexible, and I'm a team player. You know, like, that's the thing I love about Skuid that might be a little different than some others is, we talk to our CEO a lot. Our CEO talks to us. He's active in our conversations. You know, having that gravitas and that ability to articulate up to leadership, and from the customer space, you know, Rob was mentioning, we have such a varied customer base. From a customer success and support, you know, perspective, our customer success managers could be dealing with C-suite level. You know, we work with generals in some of our DoD customer interactions, or we could be dealing with the one-woman app building shop that's the IT and the, you know, is doing it all. Like, we really have to be able to speak to, you know, just every level of hierarchy within a company. And like, I think those are the skills that, you know, I look for as a hiring manager at Skuid. And I can only say we're not hiring right now, but I think I just urge you to go reach out on LinkedIn, and if you're interested, you know, send a resume over. Like, when we look at that stuff, and we're very purposeful and intentional about bringing people on. So we love our Trailblazers.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It paints a really great picture. And, you know, to your point, it always makes sense to develop relationships early, even though you're not hiring right now. Of course, you will be at some point in the future. And that's one of the primary focuses of these office hours, is to make those introductions. And then everyone here on the call, it's your homework to then follow up and develop those continuing relationships, so that at some point in the future, you know, when something opens up, then you'll already have folks that you know, and you'll have an inroad. And it's great to hear, you know, the requirements for flexibility, to be nimble, to be kind of a jack of all trades, and maybe you're working a lot of different roles. You don't have necessarily one title. And that's kind of where veterans and mil spouses, where they exist, right? Those are the skills, those meta skills that they bring to the table, and others as well, right? We have a lot of folks here that aren't military, so just take notes. Flexibility is key, and the ability to quickly pivot, and so be working on those as well as your customer skills. We did have a question in chat, and if you don't know Iris attends pretty much every session and always has awesome questions. And so I will pivot to her question. She says, at the beginning of the session, you mentioned the use of emotional intelligence. Please, can you elaborate a little more on how you utilize that skill to aid in the success of your products?
Ashleigh, mute.
I definitely, there's always one, right? And today it was me. I think we talked a lot about that in that last segment, you know, talking about flexibility and really emotional intelligence. I mean, I think about maybe my liberal arts background collegiately, you know, a lot of the Skuid and the squad members come from so many diverse backgrounds, professionally and personally. Professionally, we have a lot of second career like folks who pivoted. Chris, I think, you know, we read in his bio how he used his emotional intelligence to connect with customers as a pre-sale engineer. If I've got this right, I believe Chris was a teacher in a former life. You know, that active listening skill, all of that. Certainly, I think, again, we talk about skill sets, the flexibility, that emotional intelligence is something that, while may not be in a complete pillar, is something that we look for in squad members. And so it naturally comes in that sort of human-centered design approach to everything we do. Products. I was very involved with our launch of our Skuid users groups, you know, making sure that we talk to all stakeholders, making sure we're listening to customers about what do you want to hear from Skuid? Where are your challenges? How can we overcome that? We've all been there as consumers of something that, you know, we wish that companies heard us. And so I think the active listening, the collaboration, the communication, the flexibility, there's really truly nothing that we launch without talking to key stakeholders, to customers, to truly internal stakeholders. Sarah mentioned, you know, our heavy involvement with customer success, you know, selling to in the sales world when I worked for cybersecurity or other low code solutions, the investment that Skuid made in customer success was unlike anything else I saw in the market. So, you know, and I think that we just have a strong culture and kind of family culture as well, too. So a lot of us have so many other life skills that all contribute to that emotional intelligence piece of it, which then translates almost naturally as a natural extension. There I go again with the extension of into our product. So hopefully that answers your question, Iris.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Chris posted in the comments his transition, and in a moment I'm going to ask Chris to expand on that. But so I don't call on him without giving him some time to think about it, I am going to drop another question in before that. So you've had your warning order. Throughout today's session, there have been questions in chat and some great resources for Skuid enablement. But obviously our folks on YouTube aren't going to be able to see the chat. So if you could just verbalize some of the resources out there if folks want to get up to speed with Skuid and learn how to leverage it, whether they're a solution engineer, whether they're an implementation specialist, a consultant, or an admin. What are some things they can leverage?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I am the community enablement lead at Skuid. So it's kind of the space where I live. Our main resource for enablement is a free learning platform called Skuid School. That's School, SKOOL, and it's just skuidschool.com. And that's where it'll walk you through downloading Skuid, getting started, doing basic things, and walk you through to even doing those more complex things. And you don't have to know anything about Salesforce. You don't have to know anything about Skuid. It'll really take you through the beginning. We also have fantastic documentation. That's docs.skuid.com, DOCS. And we also have a user community where you can ask your questions, talk to other builders, and that's just community@skuid.com. And we will, for the people who are here, put them all in the chat as well.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Anna. Appreciate that. So we've got about 5 minutes left in that remaining time, because a lot of the things that we focus on are career transitions here at Office Hours, and Chris has had a very interesting one. Typically, career transitions with our crowd takes the form of service member to tech or milspouse to tech. Chris went from higher education to real estate to tech. So I'd love, Chris, and feel free to use the full 5 minutes if you'd like, to talk about your transition, how you were able to make that happen, and maybe any guidance you'd have on folks who are looking to make a transition into tech and who may think to themselves, gosh, I don't have a background, so maybe it's not for me.
Yeah, for sure. I'm still surprised that I'm here. It was really interesting coming from like basically no linear path to technology, but also at the same time realizing like, oh, but there were different things that I learned along the way that have proven really helpful. I also had a liberal arts degree. Big cheers for that. That was super useful. But for example, like really quickly in real estate, I had a lot of like calling. I was setting contracts and customizing new builds with the builder and the client, and basically liaisoning between those two things. A lot of my role in pre-sales is working between prospects and our product team and our sales team. And it's like, oh, wow, that kind of translated nicely. In higher education, I was dealing with, I was a resident director actually for 5 years. And so I was dealing with all sorts of student crisis and emergency situations and development and training and meetings and things like that. And I loved getting into, okay, how do you problem solve really quickly when you've got two 20-year-olds who are in a fight at 1 a.m. about something ridiculous, but figuring out, okay, how do you listen, how do you understand both sides, how do you do that kind of thing. And then moving into tech, it's kind of comical. I was like, oh well, I mean, it's not 1-to-1, but like there's some things that are sort of useful with that background. But really the biggest growth was Skuid taking a gamble on me. I was hired as a business development rep, so I was like cold calling and booking meetings. I'd never seen Salesforce before. I didn't hear it. I'd never heard of it. Sorry. And I started kind of getting into that world, and I love technology and was really intrigued by it. And Skuid paid for me to be able to do Focus on Force, which is the only way that I was able to start doing Skuid certifications, which Skuid paid for and let me take time out of the workday to both study for those things and to go and take those certifications and to pay for those. So that was massive for me. And then I'm currently a pre-sales engineer. And so the way that I went from BDR to pre-sales was totally courtesy of how generous people are here with their knowledge. They are extraordinarily smart people here. It would be very intimidating if they weren't so humble, and it's still kind of intimidating just because of how smart they are. But people are really generous with, if I had a question about something or wanted to get into the back end of a demo and ask like, well, how does this one piece of functionality work? There's always people willing to help me out and to provide those answers. So I'll kind of sum it all up with that. But it was kind of a bouncing around path. But really it was just a willingness to get in. I mean, cold calling is not something I want to do for the rest of my life, but it got me in the door, and I wanted to be at a place like Skuid. And then just being hungry and curious really helped kind of expand in there. And then I was blessed to be at an organization that welcomes people moving around in the organization and trying out different places where they might be a good fit. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, David, I'd like to extend on what Chris's statement with one thing, and that is, I think if you are looking at a career transition and looking at the tech space, and you are worried that you don't have, say, a programming background or know how to code or have a portfolio of a bunch of things that you've built, don't worry. Tech has a ton of roles for people like Chris who haven't ever coded and haven't ever built from scratch applications. And one of the wonderful things that's happening in the ecosystem is products like Salesforce, like Skuid, where if you bring a mindset of curiosity, if you have a little bit of a willingness to follow instructions, if you built Legos as a kid and can kind of put together things and made some product in that way, you're going to be successful with these products. And you don't have to have a computer science degree. You don't have to have a bunch of computer languages in your tool belt. You can find a place, and there's a lot of things to do in the tech space without those skills.
That's a great way to end the session. I'll just piggyback on what Carrie was saying in chat. So how what may not necessarily be a dream role becomes a dream role, because to Chris's point, you get your foot in the door and then you pivot. And the other takeaway was skills translation. So he wasn't doing necessarily anything tech related while he was in education, but he was able to take those skills that he was doing and apply that to what the job needed. So wrangling 20-year-olds to conflict negotiation with customers and managing potentially upset customers. So regardless of what you're doing, there is a way to translate that into what you want to do. You may have to get creative at times, but you know, it's there. So don't be discouraged. And hopefully, if you're watching this and you're interested in tech, you'll take that next step. With that, we are at time. Before we do close our 100th episode with Skuid, I'd like to thank Rob, Ashleigh, Sarah, Evan, Chris, and Anna for co-hosting tonight's session. It has been amazing having you here and getting your perspective on all the topics we discussed and getting a little bit of a slice of what it's like to work at Skuid and the tools that you bring to the declarative development scene. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Super happy to be here.
Thanks so much.
Awesome to have you. And thanks to all of you for spending time on your Wednesday evening. We will leave you here. Please be safe, and we'll see you here in a couple of weeks with our next session. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.